Hello, what's up? It's Faye here. I wanted to take a moment to let you know that I've reached a pretty significant milestone in my life. I've decided to apply for Canadian citizenship. So what's making me apply has been the result of a 15-year reflection. I don't look like your traditional European. I was born and spent the first 18 years of my life in Norway, and then I spent another 4 years in the Netherlands. And all this time spent in Europe ensured that my worldviews were firmly rooted in European values and sensibilities, for better or worse. It was Mom who did all the hard work of getting our family's application for permanent residency approved in Canada. And when the time finally came for me to move to Toronto, I have to admit, I had a bit of a culture shock. It was weird because the language wasn't really the problem. It was the car-centric culture and the sprawled suburban landscapes that are everywhere and as far as the eye can see. And these environments are so different from the quaint old European towns that I had lived in previously. Then there were, if you go to the grocery store, you see all this processed food and the supersized portions of everything. And everywhere you look, you see advertising, like big billboards and blinking lights, and everything is there to grab your attention. So it's a very high stimulus environment. And so I have to admit, my first impression of Toronto was rough at best. After living here for more than a little while, I remember one day I was walking down Queen Street and I noticed something very peculiar, a very peculiar feeling inside of me. It was this feeling that had snuck into my life that I had never truly experienced before. It was the strange sensation of feeling invisible. Like people weren't looking at me weird or staring at me strangely because they had never seen an Asian person before. And at that moment, I realized that I had discovered something really amazing and wonderful about living in a racially diverse and accepting place. And with this realization, a heavy burden that I never knew I had been carrying around for so long suddenly just evaporated. This started a time of personal healing and acceptance for me. I felt immensely grateful for this place that had made me feel more whole as a person. And I wanted to dedicate time and energy into truly making this place my new home. So a couple of years ago, I decided to make the ultimate financial investment in Toronto. I bought an apartment. My little shoebox up in the sky. At this point, Toronto and really Canada had offered it all to me. As a permanent resident, I was fully participating in society. I was paying taxes, receiving benefits, just like any other Canadian. I had a place of my own, a great job. I had met many wonderful people. As a permanent resident though, I couldn't vote. Permanent residents can't vote in municipal, provincial, or federal elections. In the grand scheme of things, it may sound like a fairly minor thing, but when you really think about it, it is a strong democracy that has made possible this freedom that lies at the root of everything that I'm so grateful for in my life. And having grown up in one of the strongest democracies in the world, I can safely say that I am a strong supporter of democratic values. However, I'm really sad to say that to this day, I have never cast a ballot in my life. As I traveled and explored more of Canada, getting to know the people, places, and the history, my growing affinity for the country made me desire to seek Canadian citizenship even more so that I could fully participate in the democratic process. However, there was just one thing that stood in my way of getting Canadian citizenship. I would have to renounce my Norwegian citizenship in exchange. One of the few links that I have to my childhood in Norway is my status as citizen. Even though it feels like a lifetime ago, being that kid growing up in that quiet suburb of Oslo, it is all those experiences that I had and the things that were taught to me growing up that lie at the foundation for all the values that I have today as a person. I'm immensely proud of this unique Norwegian perspective, and I'm so grateful for my parents and especially Dad for making that tough journey that he did to get to Norway, and also for all the sacrifices that my parents made to make it work as first-generation immigrants in Norway. Thank you so much. Norwegian citizenship was a hard-won status for our family, and Norwegians are only allowed one citizenship at the time. And so I just couldn't see myself letting go of this part of me that easily. And so I held off. I continued to embrace the Canadian experience as much as I could, even though I wasn't actually Canadian. However, stuck in this limbo, I hoped for a sign from the universe that would point me to a direction or a solution to this situation. And you know what? The universe answered back. In 2019, the Norwegian government announced that for the first time ever, Norwegian citizens would be allowed to hold multiple citizenships starting January 1st, 2020. I was so skeptical at first because, you don't want to be disappointed. This was a really big deal for me, and yeah, I had my doubts. Ironically, I think I had just spent too much time in North America, where news on politics and government can be an uncomfortable rollercoaster ride of broken promises and lies. Now, despite the uncertainties of an ongoing global pandemic, I managed to cobble together my citizenship application, and I recently sent it off. It takes up to a year to process applications. That's fine though, because I'm not planning on going anywhere anytime soon. As I wrap up my story here, and thank you so much for watching all the way to this point, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I have a special request for you. To become Canadian citizen, you have to pass this knowledge test. While my application is being processed by the government, I am committed to learn as much about Canada as I possibly can. But rather than do this on my own, I'm looking to you for recommendations, big or small, that cover some essential aspect of Canada. This could be books, movies, people, places, history, foods. I want to know about the good stuff, the bad stuff, the weird stuff, and the difficult stuff. Like any other large milestone in life, I really want to know what I'm getting into if I'm to become Canadian. So just to wrap it up, thank you so much for sharing this milestone with me. I look forward to receiving your recommendations, and I'll be sure to share what I learn on my journey towards citizenship. And until next time, take care and stay curious.